Hello, 8 Green students. Today we are going to talk about the 7 hats of the president. And before we get to the 7 hats, I'm going to talk just a little bit about the executive branch because the president does lead the executive branch. So the president is known as our chief executive. Americans vote for the new president every 4 years. This is part of our republic. And we know that we just had an election in this past November. We have Inauguration Day coming up on the 20th, this coming Wednesday. The president can be elected to 2 terms or 8 years. So as we know, Donald Trump was the president the last 4 years. He ran for re-election. He did not win. And so President-elect Joe Biden will be taking over as of the 20th of January. And then Joe Biden will be allowed to run again in 4 years if he desires to. The president lives and works in the White House, also known as the Presidential Mansion or Executive Mansion. The president has 15 cabinet members to help him run the country. These folks are all called secretaries. So the Secretary of Defense helps the president with the defense of our nation. Secretary of the Treasury helps the president with the financial aspects and economics of our country. Secretary of Education, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Secretary of State. So all the different cabinet members. The only one that doesn't go by that name is the Attorney General. The Attorney General is the top lawyer, which helps him run the Justice Department. The president must be 35 years old. The president must be a U.S. citizen since birth. And the president must have lived in the United States for 14 years. Those are the only 3 requirements to run for president. There is no religious requirement, no gender requirement, nothing like that. 35 years old, U.S. citizen since birth, and then the president must have lived in the United States for at least 14 years. Some of the presidential perks: the president makes $400,000 a year, which might sound like a lot of money, but remember, he is essentially the CEO of the nation, which has like 300 million people in it. They do get some personal expense accounts, $100,000 for travel, $19,000 for entertainment, and $50,000 for miscellaneous. The president also has the use of Air Force One, which is the private jet, Marine One, the private helicopter, the Beast, which is the private limousine. Camp David is a vacation spot. The White House itself has a bowling alley, movie theater, swimming pool, tennis courts, putting green, and basketball court. Once the president is out of office, he or she will receive an annual retirement pension of $207,800 per year, and they get Secret Service protection for life. They also get some transitional costs, which includes health insurance, office space, secretarial staff, cell phone travel, and postage. And that does not last forever. That's kind of temporary. To be quite honest, I forget how long some of those transition costs last, maybe a year or 2. Living ex-presidents, we have Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and George W. Bush. After January 20th, Donald Trump would be included in this. So we would like, hopefully at some point, get a picture of all 5 of them together. That way I can update my slide. But these are the 4 current living ex-presidents, because Donald Trump is technically still our president. And if you watch the inauguration, you will see these 3 at the inauguration. Jimmy Carter's health is not allowing him to attend. He's pretty old, and his health is not tip-top. So he won't be at the inauguration, but it's typical that the ex-presidents all come. Okay, let's talk about the 7 hats of the president, the 7 hats of the president. So when someone is wearing a hat, it is like their job or their role that they are fulfilling. Sorry, my dog Molly is down here whining. So I have several hats that I wear. I wear a teacher hat, a coach hat, a dad hat, a pet owner hat, a husband hat. And I'm going to have to pause the presentation because Molly is going crazy. I'll be right back. All right, I am back. You didn't even know I was gone, but I had to go take care of my dog, so that's my pet owner hat. I had to go get her some dinner. She was hungry. All right, the first hat that the president wears is called the chief executive hat. And this is kind of his boss hat. So this is where he creates policies, enforces laws. He hires and fires officials within the executive branch, including his own cabinet members, his office staff, appoints federal judges. This is the hat where he is making kind of day-to-day boss decisions, if you will. Commander-in-chief hat. The Constitution makes the president the head of the nation's military. Remember, only Congress can declare war. The president can ask for a declaration of war, and a president can actually send troops into combat situations that are not official wars. So he is considered the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Head of state. This is kind of the fun stuff that the president gets to do. He's kind of the living symbol of the U.S. or the head. It's head of state, but think of the term state in terms of our nation. He welcomes foreign leaders, any kind of dinner parties, congratulating, Olympic gold medalists, when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl or when the Royals won the World Series. Typically, your champions go visit the White House and meet the president. So those are kind of the fun things that the president gets to do. Director of Foreign Policy. So anything that deals with how we treat another nation, that runs through the executive branch. He can make treaties, although the Senate has to approve them, but he works with the Secretary of State, who helps him shape the policies with dealing with other countries. So anything that deals with a foreign nation, that is considered Director of Foreign Policy hat. Head of the political party. So right now in our country, we have two major political parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. So Donald Trump is the head of the Republican Party. Right now, President-elect Biden is the head of the Democratic Party. So whoever the president is typically the leader of that political party. And they use their power and influence to help other candidates from their party get elected to other positions. So after Wednesday, Joe Biden becomes the head of the Democratic Party. There technically is no head of the Republican Party after Wednesday once Donald Trump leaves office. A lot of times, that falls to maybe who the House majority, the House of Representatives leader is, or the Senate leader of that party. It still could be Donald Trump. It just kind of depends on which direction the outgoing party wants to take. So over the last 4 years, there's not really been a head of the Democratic Party, even though Barack Obama was our last president. And then, of course, you had Hillary Clinton run for president. And then you had Joe Biden running this last year. But there was really no true head of the party when you're not the president. But whoever the president is clearly the leader of that party. And everybody else kind of falls in line and kind of does, backs him or her on what they want to do. Economic guardian or economic watchdog. You'll hear it said both ways. Economic guardian or economic watchdog. And this is just the fact the president is expected to keep our economy going, help with stimulus packages. Obviously, the president tried to help our economy going during the COVID shutdown, and we had the stimulus package, the extra unemployment that was sent out. The president sets the federal budget with help from the Secretary of the Treasury. And so anything dealing with the economy, oil and gas prices, stuff like that, that's called economic guardian, economic watchdog. Legislative leader. So this is interesting because the president's the head of the executive branch, but he is considered a legislative leader as well. And that's because even though Congress passes laws, the president has a part in that he either signs that into law or he can veto a law by rejecting it. Okay, and we'll talk more about the veto power and the override power. The president does have a role in the legislative or lawmaking process, but Congress is still the lawmakers. The president just serves a critical role in that. All right, so those are your 7 hats. Cycle back through if you need to refresh on anything, and use this 7 hats portion to complete the 7 hats of the president worksheet.